New Ork detachments on the way, hinting towards 11th edition. We also have WAAAGH's points, 175. And just so you can get a visualization, on my right, we have a trike. On my left, we have a flyer base. This is the size of a WAAAGH base. All right, 120 to 92 for the trike. So he's still large, but he's not massive, right? Just so you guys know, when you start the proxy and you start to test them out. Now, for these detachments we're going to talk about, which I, of course, incorporated WAAAGH. I actually have some synergies, some technologies, gets, gubbins that we can tech into while we're playing with these underwhelming detachments. Though I will make the most of it, like we always do, as greenskins, because this is where the big bosses are. Now, I will, of course, be taking you guys through the PDF file just because it's easier to look through the rolls real quick. But I also have my follow-ups, my little summarizations that I prepared for you to really kind of think what I'm going to hone in on when I start to practice these, other than the most obvious things you've probably seen on a lot of other channels. Oh, shout out to other channels because people were on it and they also have great ideas too. Just saying. Hopefully, I got some other ones that you haven't seen yet. So, that being said, I actually want to start off with the Blitz Brigade because it's the one I'm more excited for, so I can keep energy up. And then I'll move over towards the Speedwaaagh one, even though, of course, you guys know I'm a Speedwaaagh fan. Now, someone say my mic's being weird. Maybe I'm moving it too much. If not, let me know. So, that being said, let me just tell you why I'm going through this, why I'm actually more excited about the Blitzer. Audio is muffled. Maybe I put it too close to my face. I'll tell you why I like the Blitzer Brigade and why I'm going to make the most out of it and exciting. So, here we have Blitzer Brigade. Bam. This is the one that's focused battle wagons, kill rigs, and vehicles. No, I mean everything's I'm fine. What the hell? Of course, is what happened right when I'm talking to you guys. All right, so how do I sound? How do I sound? So, anyways, I think there's actually some meat on the bone here for you guys. I'm pretty excited. Now, first off, the detachment rule is each time an org unit from your army disembarks from transport, at the turn you can roll the advance and charge rolls for that orc unit. So, of course, orcs love rerolls. We love to get out of transports and fight, but is that really what we're doing in this detachment? Is what I think people are really looking at, right? It doesn't really seem like that's the no focal point of everything we do. So, okay, maybe I pulled something. So, starting off with the enhancements, which I do have the points for, we have run-in boots, one orc infantry character. When he gets out of a transport, he plus one to the result. Luckily, from what I've seen, that is going to be a 10-point enhancement. Next, we move on to the Blitzer Captain. This is a orc character, redeploys any orc vehicle, three orc vehicles, excuse me. Now, this one does have the caveat that you can be within the vehicle when you do the redeploy, which is massive. Now, we have talked about redeploy shenanigans in Tactical Brigade when we do with vehicles. So keep that in mind as we move forward because there's something here for us as well. Even though it might be a little situational, there are some fun circumstances. You can, when we look at the strats and everything, I'll tell you about it. I'm sure you guys see the slide already on that. We have supercharged squig oil. This is a mech. Each time the bear uses its mech ability, so when it pokes something, until the end of the phase, you can reroll the charge roll for a selected vehicle model. You're acting funky. Everything's good for me. So now that one might come into play. Not as bad, not as great as we would think. That one is also 10 points. The redeploy one is 25 points from what I know. Then we have tough hits, 4 character infantry model only. When you disembark from a transport, you're no longer battle shock. So that's cool. If you're worried about a unit, well, actually, if you're already in the transport and you were hurt, you don't got to take a battle shock. That doesn't matter. But when you get destroyed, you're not battle shock. So that could be cool for like 20 minutes. I'm checking out here real quick. So that's pretty obvious, but it's only 5 points. So sometimes you got 5 points at the end, at least from what I've seen. Now, here's the interesting part of this thing that we're gonna make go to right? The stratagems. Now, Is it heavily focused on strategy? Yes. That's obviously gonna be the problem and obviously why this isn't highly competitive. But there's some stuff that we haven't had before that we can do here. Yes, it's true. And we're gonna talk about it, why it can actually be interesting when if we find the right point value, how much we invest into the detachment and how much we invest into just straight up work good units like a gas or something, right? And I did put a list together that I'm not showing yet because I'm not up to it. I will later this week. Don't worry, like Friday, but I have lists out. But for this one, we'll start off with the mount up next. So, end of orc 5 phase, one orc infantry unit from your army that's not within engagement range is wholly within 6 inches of a friendly transport, you can get back into it. So the obvious things here are, of course, like a fire that everybody's been doing. So let's say your tank busters, shock attack gun, get out, they shoot something, they jump back. So you don't have to necessarily have been into a fight to take advantage of this. But as you're playing with these more fighty style transports, there's a chance that they can be alongside whatever unit disembarked from them, got in the fight, and then you can jump back into it, right? Which kind of messes up with enemy target priority. Sometimes the same tank that's going to blow up a hunter rig, kill rig, whatever, also has the firearms with I'm sorry, the fire kill small arms fire. Sorry, small arms fire for the infantry. So now moving forward, let's move to other things that are very interesting here. So we have armored duelist. Right off the bat, pay attention because this is the one I'm gonna be having a funny time with. One orc vehicle unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot. When you're targeting vehicles or monsters, you get +1 to hit and +1 to wound. Alright? I'm gonna when I get to the synergies, I'll show you that. So you guys are saying my mic is it was working. See, I must have poked it and it just threw it for a ride. I get into place. So I'm gonna keep going forward, guys. You guys can't do this about it. Hopefully, it doesn't ruin my video. Okay, then we do to mechanized brutality. Keep in mind, I'm gonna go back and give synergy for all this. You guys have seen this. I'm running through it. Mechanized brutality. Or in your movement phase, one battle wagon, kill rig, or hunter rig unit from your army that has not been selected in this phase. Till the end of the turn, each time a unit disembarks from makes a disembark, you can make a normal move and still be eligible to declare a charge. So I'm not really seeing the huge big deal because why wouldn't you just call a wall here necessarily on this one? Sorry, I was looking at the running down that I was excited about. Uh, this one, it seems like maybe it'd make more sense next edition, hypothetically. Until the end of turn, each time a unit disembarks from your unit after your unit makes a normal move, that disembark unit is still eligible to charge. Oh, so obviously you can move the so stupid. Obviously, this is the one where you can move the vehicle forward and then you can disembark from it and then declare a charge. So that means it's the old truck door mechanic, but within a wagon, a kill rig, or a hunter rig. So this is the case where you might be able to jump back into it after it's into a fight. So you're moving up the field with most of these units, which is going to be the synergy we're seeing here. But there is some other less obvious synergy. We have impervious. Impervious is -1 to wound. I do battle wagons, kill rigs, and hunter rigs. If the unit that's shooting you has a weapon that's greater strength than your toughness, then you get -1 to wound. So if it's a las cannon into a kill rig, you can -1 to wound it, so it's wounding you on 4. So you can pretend to be a toughness 12 unit most of the time. Not too much stuff higher than strength 12 unless you jump in to take night weapons, but there is something here that we might not be taking hard case in this detachment, to be honest. No, I know, crazy, but bear with me. Not on everything. Then we have run 'em down. Your movement phase. One battle wagon, kill rig, hunter rig from your army has not been selected to move this phase. Select up to 2 other friendly orc vehicles or within 6 of your unit until the end of the turn. Your unit is eligible to declare a charge, which turn they advanced. So that means this doesn't only apply to other kill rigs or hunter rigs because the unit that's being activated for run them down has to be a kill rig, hunter rig, battle rig. But it's only an orc vehicle unit, right? That's within 6. So that means this could be a death trap, it could be a Titanic walker, maybe some killer cans. Not that I think you should use all of those things necessarily, but this could also be WAAAGH, after he's done his super charged move, if you move one of these units up, you're within 6, so actually at the beginning of your movement, so it doesn't count for WAAAGH as much. But if he staged up somewhere else, you select him, then he can have already declared his ability to auto advance 6 and move through stuff in the turn you haven't declared a wall. So this chain reaction can go off with WAAAGH or other Titanic walkers, which is the thing that most people don't. Now, to set it up isn't necessarily easy. But if someone gives you a crappy, I go, you can charge my scouts because I decide to move block you, there's a chance that you have moved WAAAGH up in a different position because they're not trying to stay away from WAAAGH, and they know he might move through them. He can move your vehicle to select himself and then select WAAAGH. WAAAGH can have selected his super buff ability to move through stuff and launch himself up the field without you declaring a wall, which is the key here because you want to retain the wall for your other units that are actually going to be able to do combat. And of course, like I said, they have Titanic Walkers. Then we have this ability, Armored Duelists. So this one, actually, I already said that when it was for +1 to hit. This one's interesting for other reasons. I don't want to jump ahead of myself because I still using trouble. Your opponent's shooting phase just after your unit has shot one battle wagon, hunter rig, or kill rig. One orc infantry unit that's embarked can disembark and make a surge. Roll a d6. Models in that unit up to those inches. So this is going to be interesting when we move to our synergy. It's very obvious for some cases because you can disembark 3 and then surge, so the enemy has to kind of stay away from you for this. Otherwise, you'll be getting fights that they don't want you to get into fights with. And if you haven't charged, they haven't charged that unit, your surge charge unit will fight before that, right? Because you are in combat and you're not an activated player. But let's look into my little funky slide here real quick. So the units I'm looking at now that I've seen this, right? Let's start flowing here. Now, baby mech on the menu. You got to be giving your battle wagon, if you're a Mork, a truck, kill rig. Well, you can't give it a kill rig, oops, but a Gork Mork battle wagon. You're gonna kind of want that baby mech because you're also getting the reroll charges on that, and you're kind of big and funky. So even within advance, you might have like a 6-inch charge, right? But he's also getting +1 hit now. Why is this interesting? I'm going to show synergies for reactivate this, but keep in mind when you look through the character list I have here, I have WAAAGH, Warbust, and SAG solo mech. Why do I have a mag SAG solo mech? Well, if you go back to what I just said, you can play with a battle wagon, take the art case off the battle wagon, you can use armor duelist, you can give +1 to poke your battle wagon, and now you have, let's say, triple shock attack guns inside of one of your battle wagons. Only takes up 3 slots, and you have open deck. If someone shoots at you, -1 to wound, right? Boom, go ahead. So you might have to just take the -2 toughness to activate this, but remember, you should have this wagon safe, so it's not the one getting shot up because you're gonna have a lot of other tough stuff on the field. Usually, people will prioritize shooting your rigs because it's easier. So you're gonna have 3 solo mechs to actually respond. So solo mechs move up in a battle wagon. You put 1 CP, give them armor duelist, so you get +1 to hit, +1 to wound. That means your shock attack gun just got the same buffs it would get if it was with tank busters, without getting out, without paying all the points you would pay for tank busters. So would you rather pay for a unit of tank busters that are super unreliable and have to get out the transport, or would you rather pay for 4 shock attack guns that are essentially doing all the heavy lifting already and then you're going to just smash into another enemy vehicle with this and actually act like your battle wagon is a tank. And of course, you give it +1 to hit. So if the enemy does smoke or considers doing smoke, you're like, oh, I countered your smoke already. I'm still hitting on 4s. Cool. So that's another tech thing that's kind of low key and actually might be pretty awesome because you're gonna have all these big units on the field already. And they already have a bunch of big units on the field. You can usually stage, like say it's layout 1 right in the middle. You can stage 1 battle wagon relatively safely against most armies, unless they have really, really good movement shenanigans. But you also got WAAAGH around, so they have to be respectable. And you also have a surge. So if you have other units that can disembark and do stuff carefully. Now, I'm not saying you're gonna do this, but if you have like a Gaz with those, they still have room. Gaz is with this dudes, I think 18 slots. That means you still have 4 spots for 3 shock attack guns and a baby net, hypothetically speaking. So you could still do this, and then the enemy still doesn't want to get close to that wagon either, and then or you can have 2 wagons. So think this out, don't shame it just because it's really crazy, but this attachment, you have to be crazy to try to make it work. There are trucks that are an option on this list. Another thing you can do is you can act very aggressive with your battle wagons or a Mork or a Ork. You could let them know that you have a WAAAGH stock, that he could do something highly aggressive, that if someone declares an advance, he can declare an advance off their advance, do an advance in charge. So they're more defensive, putting all their guns into you as reliably. And so you can stage up these missile units, or you can just pick them back up and put a kill rig that has 10 snag of boys in the beast boss into reserve, bring that in later in the game. You can do the -1 to wound in it and or surge with it, or you can do that with even a battle wagon, I mean, Titanic Walker, for example, right? So it has more wounds, it's always toughness 12, so we'll see if that's something like that that can happen. But let's look at the synergies to kind of summarize what we're talking about here. So you have run them down with Titanic Walkers and WAAAGH Doctrine, right? So that's one synergy that you can do here to move up the field. Another one is the redeploy. So if you're paying for big combos that are within battle wagons, working out, or like I just mentioned with the kill rig, you can move that shenanigan that back off the field and then bring it back, do the durability buffs and surges with it. And then you have the disembark with the +1. So if you do a get out, shoot, you can get back in it, or you can use a unit to get out of the transport after the transport move, get into a fight, get +1, declare the charge on that. After that unit has gotten to a fight, if it's a kill rig, battle wagon that's moved up, or maybe a walker, you jump back in that unit and you force the enemy to have to take it. So if it's a Morkanaut, for example, Morkanaut, might be near you in this case, and he always has his 5 up info. Yes, they'll kill the Morkanaut, I'll take a huge commitment, but now you have a good time to activate the wall, and this army is not as slow as it seems, and it's not as hugely committal with a bunch of combat packages that are super weak to small arms fire, right? So if you're gonna play this, it's going to be a mixture of things like that. You're gonna have to maybe do SWAT teams, find some little units that can go into them. Maybe one of your kill rigs, which is redeploying one, that shenanigan move that's filled, but 2 of your other kill rigs are empty, right? 1 battle wagon, maybe 2 battle wagons, depending if you're playing with gas or no gas. Are you taking advantage of the stag pack, like the combo of acting like you're a local tank with your actual battle wagon, which is probably the most appealing thing is this detachment for me personally. I would love to shoot at someone and be like, "Oh, I'm countering your smoke, -4 AP, and I have 3 of these guns, and they're +1 to hit, +1 wound." Mhm. It said so that's weird because people said the sound was fine, and then now it wasn't. So, in this detachment, you're gonna have to do a mixture of threat saturation with pressure of speed and utility between even though you don't have Wazdaka, but it's easier, and finding just enough scoring units that are left over for you to make them of it. So, a Snake Route still fitting up on your list, a Storm Boy here, there, which honestly, I'd bring Tigers, Tigers kinda get in the way of all your other stuff, so you are gonna need more of that. 90% of the time for them. That sucks 'cause I was excited about this video, but no one's gonna rewatch it. Alright, so, let's try not to move this thing. Maybe it's time for another I don't know what happened. So everything's good. Hmm. Okay, so I guess we're gonna just took some of the air out of my sails. What was I thinking here? I covered that. I think I went through it faster than I thought I was going to. Surge is a big deal. Keep in mind that if Gaz gets out, Gaz is 4 inches he's taking up. So it's more like a 4-inch disembark, then you get the surge. And remember, you can just use the surge to stage up safely and already be out of your transport. Even though, like I said, you're already getting some extra inches from getting out. So really situational, but you can get out a different unit that just shock and jump back in, right? So that's something that could be taken into regard when you build your list. The issue here that I'm finding for this list, one, the meta is really good at killing tough stuff because the Katans are everywhere still, knights, etc. And you struggle to do damage. Um, other than like the one combo I talked about, the shock attack, and nothing else here really is boosting my strength, my damage enough to throughout the game consistently, so I'm still relying on the WAAAGH, which means some of these points that are gonna go towards these transports kinda have to go towards the killer units, which means everything becomes somewhat valuable to a degree, but I think we can make it work. It's just not like GP level in my opinion. Doesn't mean it's completely unplayable, so I'm gonna try to make it. Is there anything I missed? Sorry, chat, 'cause the that audio is making me do this a little faster than I wanted. Um, attack the gifted membership. Thank you for we're gonna come out with that bat rep for the Freebooters versus Space Wolves here soon. So I'm gonna be running more of those and such. So yeah. So it says the audio is horrible. Did that. Mhm. All right. So I'm saying I'm hearing that it's like unplayable, but somehow there's still people in this stream. So thank you very much for that. So I'll run through this quickly and I might have to just redo the whole video. I don't know. Let's move to the speed wall. All right, how's that? Is that better? Guys, whoever's here, because got ruined. Anybody here? Hello, hello. I failed you. We just stick to it. You guys are just hardcore. Anybody who's here, because this video is gonna tank after this audio. Did I fix it? Did I fix it? Um, hmm. Well, that sucks. Hopefully they said it's better. I just stuff. I'm here. It's not great. Sounds better. All right. Well, that was my. I was excited about Blitz Brigade. I guess I'll just announce it to you guys because you're here. Ork Berry's gonna come on anyways next Friday, so we'll go over some of this stuff anyways. If I miss, I'll go through this like because this video is gonna suck. All right. So on the rewatch of playability because of the failure audio. I don't know what's going on. I do have another video, so try to get that obviously fixed up by. So now we move to the Speed Freaks detachment. Only noticeable when you're continuously talking. All right. Well, hopefully I did all right. I mean, I tried. Hopefully I gave you guys an idea. I promise I'll make it work. All right. So the new org detachment for the Speed Freaks. What I will say is that the detachment rule, this definitely looks like how it's designed is going to work for next edition. Playable. All that you get is if you move in a straight line with a speed freak or a truck unit, you move up to 24 inches in assault. Okay. So we'll talk about what you get with shooting a little better. Um, when you're shooting you get assault, so you might be able to take advantage of some weird shooting shenanigans this attachment too. And you also have remember you want to know if a def copter cannot fly over stuff, 24-inch move because pivot even up into the space into the sky is considered a pivot, right? So you can't be doing that. You cannot do any charges, even if you have a strat that allows you to do it or a wall. What I will say, and someone brought this up in chat. That's a good point. Speedwaaagh with WAAAGH 1K, awesome. What I was going to say though is I think this detachment would work for one. Thank you for saying that. This is where I think like we play this, or maybe like a crusade. Give us some more rules. So we have custom shock box. We have a Def Killer War Trike. Barrier unit uses a turbo. It can move through terrain features. Awesome, but it can't move through enemy units, right? So it's still not a wild. So it's still very circumstantial and his base is huge. Then we have Daka Mech. Daka Mech. Oh, the point cost for this. Jump shock box is 10. Daka Mech is 25, which was quite upsetting because this attachment already sucks, and I was trying to make it work with because this enhancement to get some shooting shenanigans off. Where you pick a unit, you poke it, and the ranged weapons from that unit get rapid fire 1, so that does apply to all the firing. Then we get to Def Killer War Trike. Change the attack characteristics, 3d6 on the burner and 3 on the jet. So your mount subversion weapon gets 3 shots, which is way better. And then you get a better flamer as well, which is quite respectable at 3d6. And I love that you can actually use it. I love that all the time in Dread Mob. War Bikers, and the War Bikers will give you additional AP, so you'll be minus 2 AP, ignore cover, strength 5, I believe, and then you in this track, you can get even better strength on your flankers when you shoot or your weapons in this at range. So for the Super Burna, this enhancement costs 15 points. And then for the last one, Master Mechanologist, Big Mech only, improved ballistic skills by 1. I don't see the benefit of this. It's really not good. Yeah, maybe next edition. We'll have a new Big Mech. So then we go move on the move. This one's awesome. If it wasn't this detachment, I guess. Your movement phase, 1 orc unit from your army that is not selected to move until the end of the turn is eligible to shoot and declare a charge the turn in which it fell back. Or it this is in your movement phase. That's cool. I started your command phase, I guess. So that's easier to use. And so yeah, but it doesn't work for your boosted. This would be cool, like if you wanted like a, I'd love to strap with Zod, for example. On buggies, this would be pretty cool. On like survive somehow could be cool. And it works for any unit. So like a gas would be sick also, but I mean, this attachment probably not. But it's a sick strap. It's not ideal in this, I guess, but for next edition, it's pretty cool. And like, there's a good point. Big Mac is for the new Walker character incoming. Thank you. So that makes more sense. Big Mac is talking about the new Big Mac. So new Big Mac is an improvement for. Thank you very much, William. Awesome get right there. Even Chapter William brought my energy up a little bit. And that enhancement is 20 points. So that makes more sense why that one is 20 points. I have 2 stuff named Big Mac, the little dude and the other big move. I mean, then we go to Dead Killy Construction, Orc units. Sorry, Orc Speed Freaks, Orc Trucks. They're not unselected to fight, so it's activating the fight phase. Until that, which is cool. Like you get to see all the overwatches and everything before you waste this. It says so bad audio. I don't know what's going on, guys. I failed you. I don't know what I did. So I'll hurry up and end the video. Until the end of the phase, melee weapons equipped have Lance, and if you made a charge this turn, you get to the end of the phase, add +1 strength. So you get charge. 11th edition, you don't. Mobile Doctor Storm, your shooting phase, just after Speed Freak's truck or Speed Freak unit shot, that Speed Freak unit select one enemy unit that was hit by one or more of those attacks, which isn't always easy for orcs. So you're going to be maybe back here stuff, or just saturation of shots, which does happen. Of course, this counts for flamers as well. So like if you use a custom Booster Blaster, the cheap 70-point buggy, he has all the flamers on him, and he can auto hit stuff, and then he has Twin Link. But he himself could also just be someone who benefits from this strat if you use like a truck or some stupid weapon and hit it. Each time a model in Speed Freaks or truck unit from your army makes an attack target, improve the strength by 2. So that's going to count also for your firing deck as well coming out of your truck. Again, this triple shock attack gun material, right? So you have the mech is going to poke the truck, give the truck +1 to hit, and give it rapid fire. Its shock attack gun already has 48 inch range, so that's 24 inch rapid fire. So 3 more shots from the truck with 3d6 shock attack guns, and then they're going to be 11 minus 4 AP. So you have a lot of stupid stuff running around that can be getting shot. You might as well have something that can shoot back hard. Of course, it still applies to, and remember, you're going to have cheap points left over from bikers or all cheap damage units, so you're going to need something to kill stuff. And at range, this is probably the only way you're going to pop something tough, unless you pay for the whole combo of like tank busters themselves, which is squishy and expensive. So it's not good as good as +1 to hit in the wound, but you can get rapid fire built in and such, right? So just throwing it out there. And of course, for bikers, this is sick. You get up to strength 7, -1 AP, and then you get 1 damage. And like I said, for the flamers, this gets up. That'd be really sick flamer. 3d6 flamers on your Death Killer Ward Strike that are now strength 7 for -2 AP. That's awesome as well. Could you do this for a battle wagon and stuff like that? Then we have the enhancement the stratagem that kind of sucks. Also, this one gets +1 strength. That's sick for bikers. For trucks and for buggies, not ideal. You have a low amount of attacks, but in a pinch, you might use it. Or this one would be cool for like if you did your Megatrack Scrapjet. So he can get up in he can get lance, he's already strength 8, and then he can get damage 3. So if you're going to elite 3 infantry, Megatrack Scrapjet might be sick in a fight for that. And then all like the shots, of course, coming from the Def Kappas or Global Daka Storm, if you're getting you know +2 strength on that. Now that would be cool if but you already have Twin Link and you don't hit that well. So you need something to actually hit better, which is why I'm not as excited about this compared to like sustain the detachment and cult of speed. But back to this one in your shooting phase, um, you get to get the benefit of cover for one of your things, I guess. Maybe cover's harder to get. That's cool. Cool. Stupa ammo, shooting phase, you get anti-vehicle 4 plus. Again, this pretty much applies to if you do triple shock attack gun truck and you have a Mac to poke it, then in this case, you could make anti 4 plus on that shock attack gun shooting at the vehicle. And if you felt like doing that, then you'd have 3d6 anti 4 plus -4 AP shooting into that. So you can do either or. So if it's like strength 12, you can't really wound it that well, so you wound it with this. Right? Instead of paying for the tank plus, it's kind of gonna suck. Um, what other? And it just counts for orc units. So it's any orc unit gets anti 4 plus, but none of them are really that good, and it doesn't count for torrent weapons. Then we go to basic maneuvers. Um, I guess this is kind of wild, not good, maybe. End of your opponent's fight phase. One speed for units or truck that you can put in reserve. So the same truck I'm talking about, that if you shoot something and it survives or whatever, if it pokes out, and move it to the different side of the field, or if it redeployed in a dumb spot, you might be able to move the anti-tank truck around. So make the enemy fully deploys away from it because you tell them you can do this with this one truck, and then you can pick it up and move it somewhere else into a better place to shoot from, or just move buggies. But you kind of have like a dragster that can already do that. So I guess if you don't pay for a dragster, right? Yeah. As for the presentation I had, it wasn't too dynamic because it's attachment, but I tried my best with Trike Mech, WAAAGH, Big Mech, War Boss, and then Solo Mech. Yeah, like I told you about the Solo Mech, I think this attachment might be actually quite truck heavy. Because of the stratagem support, you can actually shoot from it and get some buffs from that and end up using your bikers, like 1 or 2 big biker units, probably 1 big biker unit or a bunch of little ones with WAAAGH. That could be an alternative, but then all your damage units would come from trucks. And then some of it would come from your biker units when you get into a fight. Because Lance is 6, so your smaller units can get into a good fight. Or even your 6-man unit without a leader can get into a fight and do some work. So, and that being said, the trucks, because of the firing combination, might end up being what ends up happening. Of course, you're going to end up wanting, like, because you're going to rely on Rika's knobs and such for getting out, doing some kind of work. Similar to how I mentioned with the Blitz Brigade, where you're going to need some kind of units that can get out and damage that are reliable to a degree on their own. And so, yeah, that kind of sucks that my audio got anything else I was saying here? Then we go into synergy. I think this might be somewhat truck focused because you're gonna have mechs that are gonna be getting +1 to hit. You're gonna have the big mech coming out as well. The speed units might really just be to hold the enemy at range while you stage up all the other actually damaging units. So you get into firing lanes with your buggies, and your buggies can resonate like an aura. Not the boom, yeah, I'm not gonna stand like an aura. Custom booster blaster might move 24 inches, give something -1 to hit. So there are cases in that, and then everything else is like next moving up and getting work stuff and moving the field, saturating the field. Buggies get good strat support and fallback and charge is cool if you can count them. That being said, I'm gonna have to move this video over because it sucks so hard in the audio. Thank you to guys that were here. Very unfortunate that it went out this way, but hopefully I shared some stuff that was exciting to you that you haven't heard yet. If so, leave a like. As for what the tracks are saying, side note, VMAC not only Mac keyworded, the rest not Big Mac keyworded. So let me make sure that's Mac Big Mac keyworded, like your son. That make me feel a little better. What's going on? Big Mac. I think. Well, no, it doesn't count for the the mega armored Big Mac because he's literally called a Big Mac in mega armor. That's he's keyworded Big Mac in mega armor. As for the shock attack gun, he might just have he has Big Mac and then Big Mac with shock attack gun. So no, that doesn't count. But I'm glad you said that just so that we could get through. And also, if you're running it, I think I'm definitely gonna be running the Blitz Brigade. Definitely gonna be trying to make advantage of this. And then as for the rapid fire, another thing here is, uh, and if you used Mech ability to chat, this doesn't apply to killicans that well because it only hits one killican. So only one killican is gonna get popped and do rapid fire stuff. So not that interesting even. Like because the mech is by model, and it says he was affected by the Mechacaniac ability. So it's by model based off what it says. As for the last thoughts, that's a good last question. You and I ruined the video. I think that he's gonna still be awesome in Cult of Speed because he needs other stuff that's also can get around quickly with him and kind of take away target priority in him in some ways. Also, I think that he works in freebooters to a degree. Maybe Warhorde. Some armies might really be benefit from his speed and utility and options. I love you can actually make him advance charge without calling the wall. That way, you can still use the terrain and enemy models. That way, the enemy always has to screen for that, which just messes them up the whole time you're playing the game. 75 is steep. I think 175 steep is too much, personally. But whatever. Like you could have been made Yarick 175 and 150. That's insane. But he's still totally playable, and that's only like 10 more points than like what I was kind of like expecting. Little too much though. I'm still gonna run him. And his base, like I said, for anyone that got here a little later, this is the trike base, right? Pretty huge. And then this is the flyer base for the DACA jet. It's small. Still pretty big, but it has benefits to being a little smaller. So he can get around, and good enemies will screen him really well. So he might end up being a later game piece, or in certain matchups, he's going to be really interesting for holding your natural expansion that early game to secure you an extra, primary or such, or put enemies in the back end. That way your wall doesn't feel bad. Definitely want to actually have, now you actually have a way to possibly hold your natural expansion and not as easily. Um, but his ability, like everybody's saying, is too much anti-vehicle, and he has the anti-vehicle keyword, which makes him suck in that way because he's not as durable as he seems. With that keyword, he essentially just ends up being a light armor vehicle to most people because they get extra buffs. So that's why I'm saying he costs too much. Also, so not just because he's fun to help the rest of your army, not just because he's not reliable to kill most units or to even end up in places on the field, but because he's actually not as durable as he portrays himself. But I would appreciate all of that. So yeah. As for Arcane, thank you very much. For hiring a new Mac to work on your mic. Thank you very much. I got my Big Mac, but he didn't know that it was like this, and he didn't say anything. I guess when I moved it messed it up. It was like further, and I pulled it. I don't. So I'll have to figure this out. I'll swap the cables out, and we'll have a better stream on Friday. Like I said, we'll have Mork Perry with us, and I'm pretty excited for Blitz Brigade at least to a certain degree. And I'm gonna make the best I can, the best of this attachment as I can. I definitely think Cult of Speed and Free are going to be played as well, and I have that battle rep for that too. He's missing the warp off keyword, but I sent that in the video too. And yeah, you can use them late game. I did the WAAAGH breakdown. Go check it out. It actually still applies. Nail on the head for how it's played. Before people really started using it. That's wrong. So yes, Doug, I did actually talk about Speedwaaagh. Not too exciting. It does have some firing support that you can get for like shooting and still using all the bikers on the field. And I still really think it's built for 11th edition. Uh, but if you're going to use it, you're probably going to tech into a good amount of trucks, and then sporadically use a bunch of these speed freak units to take advantage of hyper moving and like units and move blocking, and then everything for normal walls, and you just smash into them because it doesn't have the same amount of support like a cult, right? That would be a summary. As for this brigade, that can be kind of crazy if you decide to be a mixture of WAAAGH pressure with disembarking pressure with anti-tank firepower, and then like redeploying big central cores of your army around the field and different deployments. So that'd be kind of fun. So that being said, leave a like. I ruined the audio. So with that being said, there's only one thing to keep in mind: is don't cross our wall, because we'll knock your teeth out. And WAAAGH 100. He's on it.